Hello there, welcome to lesson number 2 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create lighting fittings. Today's lesson we're going to show you how you can use a Bezier Curve and a Bezier Circle to make a light unit cover with some holes in it. So if you'd like to start off FluidDesigner, your opening screen should look a bit like this. We're doing lighting projects, so it's learning projects, lighting projects. We're doing lesson 02, so you drag and drop 02 desk lamp cover onto the workspace, and I'll just switch on the screencast key, so any key presses I make should be displayed here. So this is whoops, let me do that again. This is the object that we're going to create in today's lesson. So we're assuming you've got some sort of desk lamp, and it would fit inside this object. And as you can see, what we've got is we've got a little bit of a hole in the bottom here where the cable could go through, and we've got some holes around the outside of the object as well. So if we just go to view and front, we're going to create this object out of the object at the top. So if you've already done lesson number 1, you'll know that this is line on the left hand side here is a Bezier curve, and the main body of the object is a Bezier circle, and we can drag control points up and down, left and right, to reshape the main body, the grey bit there, which is the light fitting itself. If we just go view front again, so what I'm going to do in this instance is I'm going to switch on something called the snap. So I've just scrolled along the toolbar by scrolling the center mouse button. If I switch on this snap feature here and snap by increment, then as I move a control point, it will snap in 1 centimeter increments, because we're in centimeter grid at the moment, so I can't locate that control point at anywhere other than this point here, and then either 1 centimeter to the right or 1 centimeter to the left. So snap's a useful feature for slightly more accurate work. Okay, so I've switched on the snap, so I want to line that up with the bottom, so there, that seems to be about okay, and yep, that seems about alright as well. So I need to now drag this one out. No, I've gone too far, haven't I? And drag the top out. Okay, now it's not quite looking the same. Okay, so the top's looking a little bit odd there. Now, one thing that I could do is if I want a straight line between these 2 control points here, and I've got another control point in the middle, what I could do is highlight the one in the middle, and I could delete it, and that way I'll get a straight line. So the way to delete in FluidDesigner is to press the X key on the X key on the keyboard, and delete the vertices. This dot here, this control point, is a vertices, so it's X on the keyboard and delete the vertices, and you'll see that that disappeared there. So the control point has disappeared. So we've got a control point there, a control point at the top, but none in the middle. Now if we actually wanted to add another one into the middle, that can be done by, if I hold down the shift key and select 2 control points at the same time and click the right mouse button, I can subdivide this segment. The bit that's highlighted at the moment, this bit here with the 2 control points, is a segment. So if I subdivide this segment, you'll see what I've done is I've added another control point in the middle there. Okay, so we can add and delete control points in the same way we can add and delete objects onto the workspace. So highlight that control point, X to delete, and delete that vertices. Okay, so that's a couple of the things that you can do in FluidDesigner. Here we've got a slightly more rounded shape than what we've got in ours at the moment. So we could, for example, if we highlight those 2 control points, if we subdivide again, okay, so we've put a control point in the middle here, I could move that control point up to just below the top one, and I could move it in. Well, no, that's a little bit too drastic, isn't it? Let me just zoom in here and move that one out. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Okay, so zooming in and zooming out can help. So I've not got quite the same shape at the bottom, but it'll do for now. It's the principle of what we're doing here that's important. Now, once you're happy with the general outline shape that you've got there, the next thing that you need to do is to come out of edit mode. We're in edit mode at the moment, so we need to press the tab key on the keyboard to come out of edit mode. And then what we need to do is highlight the main body itself. Now this is actually a curve. The object that's used to create this shape is actually a Bezier Circle curve. So it's a Bezier Circle, which is a curve, and we can't print curves. We always need to change them to meshes before we can print them. And the way to do that in FluidDesigner is to highlight the object itself. So I've highlighted the Bezier Circle, and we go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. And when we do that, you can see that what happens is the color changes. Okay, now once we've actually got a mesh, we can then start to put in these holes here, because with the mesh highlighted, if we press the tab key on the keyboard and zoom in, you can see that what we've got are some faces that we can select. So when we've got these squares here in the middle of these rectangles, these are faces, and we're in what's called face select mode at the moment. If I click the right mouse button and change the selection mode from face select to edge select, notice all those little boxes in the middle disappear, and now all I can do is actually select an edge. So if I wanted to select edges and delete edges, I could do that. The other selection mode is Vertex Select, and when you do Vertex Select, you can select the dots in the corners of each of the rectangles. Now we want to delete create some big holes here. We want to delete some faces, so we need to right click and switch to Face Select mode. So that's when you get the dots. And if I just zoom in, what we can do is we can highlight a face, and to delete it, to delete anything in FluidDesigner, it's the X key on the keyboard, and I'm going to delete that face. Now when I do that, you can see that there's another face there, and what it is that there is a back part to this object, and what you can do is you can actually see the face at the back there. So if I go to View and Front again, so what we also need to do here is we need to delete that face at the back. So if I highlight that and press X on the keyboard, I can delete that face and create a hole. And I can do the same here. X to select the delete option, and then delete the face. Highlight the face, press X to delete, and delete the face. Now if we want to delete several faces at the same time, what we can always do is just hold down the Shift key, and we can select a number of faces. So I've selected 1, 2, 3, 4 faces there, and to delete them it's X on the keyboard and delete the faces, and I need to delete the ones in the background as well. So I'm holding down the Shift key, highlighting those 4 faces, X to delete, and delete the faces. Now my pattern at the bottom is slightly different from this. Not to worry, I'm just showing you the principle of this. So we've got some faces deleted, so we've got some holes at the front and the back. The one other thing we need to do is to actually zoom in down at the bottom here. If this is going to be a cover for a light unit, we need to delete some faces down here, so that a cable can fit through that bit there. So we're assuming a light fitting goes in on a light unit goes on the inside of this cover, so we need a hole at the bottom. Okay, so those are the changes that I need to make to the mesh. So I can now come out of edit mode. We're in edit mode at the moment, it tells you that at the top. So press the tab key to come out of edit mode. Now if we look closely at this object, it's actually just a shell. There's no thickness to this at the moment. It was created, remember, out of a Bezier curve, which we've changed to a mesh. but we've not got any thickness. And the way that we add thickness in FluidDesigner is we use a modifier. So we click on the spanner icon here in the properties window, and the modifier we're going to use is a Solidify modifier. And if I just open up this window here and just zoom in, you'll see that as I change the thickness here, the thickness of the shell changes. Now if you just click on thickness on the right here and make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., the thickness is added on the inside of the shell. That's because this value offset is -1. -1 offsets the thickness on the inside. If we change this to +1, and I can drag that or just type in +1, if we change the thickness now, you should notice the thickness is going on the outside of the shell. Okay, so I want to set a thickness of 3 millimeters on the outside of the shell, and that's it now. That's what I'm looking for. So I can shut that window down a little bit. Oh, actually, yeah, what we do need to do is we need to, once we're happy with this thickness, we do need to confirm it. And again, the way we do that in FluidDesigner is we always go to Tools, Object Tools, convert it to a mesh, and when you do that, it actually applies the modifier, and the modifier disappears here and you can't change it anymore. So don't go to Tools, Object Tools, convert to a mesh until you're happy with the shape and thickness that you've got. Okay, so that's actually our finished unit now. So it's not 100% the same as the one at the bottom, but in principle it's the same. So let's highlight the one at the bottom and press X on the keyboard and delete that one. This is the one we've done today, so we need to save it. And we always recommend in FluidDesigner you go to File and Save As. Don't save it in the Learning Projects folder, just go up through the menu system. Look for My Projects, so it's My Projects and it's Lighting Projects we're doing here. So it's Lesson 02 Desk Lamp Cover, and we save that as a Blender file. Now we can't print Blender files, so if we go to File and Export, the printable file format we tend to use is the Wavefront OBJ format, so I'm going to select that. I like to save it to the desktop when I'm creating these files, and so I'm exporting 02 Desk Lamp OBJ file to the desktop. Now you should always, when using FluidDesigner, analyze your mesh in NetFab Basic and make any corrections to the mesh if there are any that are required. So if we go to Project and Open from NetFab Basic, go to the desktop, open Lesson 02 Desk Lamp Cover. There it is. We haven't got any warning triangles, but we always recommend that you run this anyway. Go to Extras and repair the part. And if I just move the window across and click Update, you'll see there are no problems here. There are no border edge problems, no orientation problems, no holes. There's just the one shell. But NetFab has triangulated this mesh. In FluidDesigner, these were rectangles. NetFab has actually added in all of these lines here, broken up the rectangles into triangles. So just run automatic repair and execute it, and apply the repair and remove the old part. So it's just a few seconds in NetFab, and then you just need to save it again. So go to Part, export the part as a wavefront object, export it to the desktop. So the file 02 Desk Lamp Cover repaired, that's the printable file format now. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.